Hello and welcome to News 360 from the News Hub here in Accra. I am Issa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Ford to look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by Deluxipate, Heaven Black Mosquito Coil and Spray,
Premier Health Insurance, Calipo, and Nido Fortigro. Your love, their future.
Misunderstanding between aspirants and election planning committee delays election of new regional executives for the NDC in the Ashanti region.
Konfanochi Hospital needs 25 million euros to replace obsolete machinery.
And ahead in Mission this evening, children of Sika Ekraf, a fishing community along the Volta River in Pandai district of the northern region, face exploitation.
And people have been killed in the militia clashes in Libya. You're watching News 360, and it's a big night for the National Democratic Congress, NDC, which is organizing regional executive elections to elect officers who will manage the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. And we'll bring you all the details from the centers around the country. Now let's head on to the first story tonight. Misunderstanding between some aspirants and the Election Planning Committee delayed the election of new regional executives for the National Democratic Congress in Ashanti region. Our correspondent Beatrice Pugabra reports the election, which were scheduled to start at 12 noon, delayed for hours, and as at 4:30 p.m., the voting had not commenced.
Prior to the commencement of the elections, the police officers had a difficult task controlling who gets access into the hall for the conference. With only one entrance, all the delegates had to struggle with the police to gain entry. The door was finally locked to allow the General Secretary to address the conference, but that was short-lived as one of the aspirants for the chairmanship position, Joseph Yamin, and the security guards called the Hawks, forcibly entering the hall, throwing the place into pandemonium. Several appeals for calm fell on deaf ears until after some minutes, when the General Secretary intervened and asked Joseph Yamin and his guards to walk out. The venue for the elections was also congested, and to pave way for a smooth election, all the delegates were asked to move out of the hall onto the park. This did not go down well with the delegates, as they reluctantly walked out to sit on the grass outside while others stood waiting for their constituencies to be called. Member of Parliament for Ejura, Brahma Mohammed Bawa, raised concerns with the security arrangement.
This venue provides a space where we can park our cars, and the hall is spacious enough to accommodate almost all delegates. The only thing that I was not impressed about was the security arrangement. As to when the contestants were entering, there was a little bit of scaffold at the gate.
But earlier in an interview, former Regional Minister Samuel Sapon asked the delegate to elect competent executives to spearhead the win the party is aiming at in 2020.
But as at now, Ghana is actually in an economic mess. And this has informed the electorate that the decision they took was very bad. And that is the reason why I have always been advising my party folks to vote for a person who will be able to lead the party to victory.
The General Secretary, Johnson Asedu Nketia, read a letter from the founder of the party, former President Rawlings, admonishing them to shun candidates who influence them with money, but elect those committed to the well-being of the party.
To ensure the consolidation and reinvigoration of our party, I urge delegates to listen to their constituents and elect persons of integrity who genuinely have the party at heart.
One of the candidates vying for the chairmanship position, Andrews Nana Akwesi, appealed for unity after the intra-party elections.
I want to bring the party together so that we can mobilize votes in Ashanti.
40 individuals have presented themselves to be elected for the vacant positions. A total of 1,416 delegates are taking part in the elections being supervised by the Electoral Commission.
You're on NEWS360, and Adam Buna is a security analyst, and he will be speaking to us via Skype tonight on the activities of some of these security groups which have affected political activities in the country or something. Adam, good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Good evening, and good evening to your cherished viewers, Isa.
Right, Adam, we just saw what a security group affiliated to the National Democratic Congress, NDC, did, and we do know what the NPP's Delta Force has done in the past. Can we do away with these internal party security systems as a country?
Yes, once again, good evening to your cherished viewers. It's going to be very difficult to do away with party, thuggery in, our political parties and, vigilante groups in our political parties. The simple reason is that you realize that, oftentimes you have leaders of these political parties. Some of them, they are those who finance the activities of this, what do you call it, so-called, vigilante, groups for their own parochial interest. And so it will be near to impossible to do away with party vigilantism. I don't know how we are going to do it. We can do it the American way or do it the British way, where you have, if we had, the BNI or the national security, and then, the police and the security agencies who would infiltrate these camps and ensure that, these groups, the leaders, intelligence, they gather intelligence on what they do. Probably it will be a way to ensure that the security agencies are ahead of, whatever activities they probably would want to undertake.
So, Adam, what should be the approach? Because it appears their president has been endorsed by the structures of the two leading political parties, the NDC and the NPP.
Well, the approach is going to be where, ordinary citizens like myself, yourself, the media, speaking about it and telling the leadership of some of this, some of these leaders to do away with, vigilantism in their body politics. If you look at the Hawks, I started gathering intelligence on them I've been doing that for some time now, and they are likely to do worse than call them the invisible forces and what do you call Delta forces, all of them put together. And so this is a very grim situation, and I'm hoping that through your medium and probably some of the things we share with the security agencies, they would rise up and ensure that this group would not, probably go out of band and one day take all of us hostage like is happening in Nigeria, the Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria.
So Adam, don't we have a national security apparatus which can call these two political parties to order? Are they law unto themselves?
No, it has to do with the political will. It is we have the national security, but if we have almost a very sleepy national security that for me has not performed over the years up to tax, and even up to today. If you tell me when was the last time national security arrested, drug, barons and those who are doing bad things in the country, the FBI, the CIA keeps doing something. Our national security seems to be sleeping. We need that political will from the political leaders. Because if you realize, NDC just went out of government, MPP is in. MPP came with its own group. And so what is going to happen is that one day MPP will go out with its own group. And so until such a time that the ordinary Ghanaian would say, enough is enough. We aren't going to vote for, political parties who associate themselves with these groups. We are going to have it. And also, probably, we need to start, resourcing the Ghana police, you know, the agencies that are mandated to ensure that the security of this country is intact. The president promised 800 million. The question I've been asking is, where is the 800 million? If the police is ill-resourced, chances are that they are not able to fight this type of insurgency. And so, you know, touch wood, if we are not careful, we are going to have these hawks. They are going to outnumber the invisible forces and the Delta forces. I'm not predicting doom, but I'm talking out of intelligence I've gathered. And I'm hoping that those who have ears within the security circles will listen, so that the NDC people themselves would say, no, we don't need this in our own political parties.
All right. Thank you very much. We're grateful, Adam Bonan, security analyst, for contributing to our news tonight. You're watching News 360. Natalie?
Now let's stay on this, as there's tight security at the central cafeteria at the University of Ghana campus, as the police service, together with the hawks of the NDC, strictly manned the venue for the Greater Accra Regional Delegates Conference. Now, 1,032 delegates from 34 constituencies in the region are still voting to select from 76 aspirants to occupy positions of chairman and vice, secretary and deputy, organizer and deputy, treasurer and deputy. The youth organizer and woman organizer positions have already been voted for earlier this week. The former president and founder of the party, Jerry John Rawlings, have also addressed and are expected to address the conference.
It's been a very long day, and the day is still far from ending because voting is...
Catherine, over to you now.
Right here in your shot, you have people who are voting, just about the last batch of people voting, and people also rigorously campaigning, even though it is against the Constitution and even against the electoral laws. Just before the voting began, the executives announced that campaigning was supposed to have ended yesterday, and so nobody was expected to campaign today, not to talk of this very venue where the election was taking place. But the delegates have blatantly disregarded all these laws and orders and are seriously campaigning, not just at the premises, but very close to the voting area. This barricade you see was just mounted up by the police because the people were going too close even to the ballot boxes. It is very surprising because people are not even expected to be campaigning today, not to talk of the voting hall and also as close as the voting area. I have with me the regional organizer to help us understand what has been happening. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Regional organizer, is this how best you could organize your people for this election?
It's very unfortunate that at this juncture, this is happening. And I believe before we got to this end, all of us have abreast ourselves with the rules and the regulations for the election. And we have assured ourselves that we are not going to do anything to create this kind of unforeseen situation. But today, it's really an appalled situation. And I'm really embarrassed that people that we understand the rules have created this kind of scene, engage people to come to the room and flout the rules and create this unnecessary tension that is characterized with this election. It's an unfortunate situation.
The whole place is in a mess, as you know. But what is surprising is that there is, tons of security personnel here. Apart from the police, you have your internal security called the Hawks. And it's surprising that they're also looking on, as well as the party executives, what is actually happening. Because if they cannot do anything to stop what is happening, then what is actually their use? Why didn't you allow the police to handle things?
Well, I think some aspirants have just made their mind that they will come here and create this kind of scene. And if actions are being taken, they will disrupt their process. So we tried as much as possible to manage this to this end.
But as far as you are concerned, it's not being managed. What we are seeing is not being managed.
Managing in the sense that we are containing the noise to make sure the voting process goes on, and then we can end. Then the ballots that are being are in the boxes will be sorted and counted. So it's an unfair situation, but we believe that the voting process has been very fair, and we expect that anybody, whatever the outcome, you take it as that is the true reflection of the delegates' vote.
But this is an offense. So what are you going to do to these people who are flouting the laws?
Well, you see, next time I believe what a party should do. There are people that, to me, they don't even deserve to even contest position. Because you cannot come to an election hall with people who will not accept any disciplinary action. And it's a very unfortunate.
It is not for them to accept. It is for you to enforce it as leaders.
From the beginning, we tried to appeal to people's conscience that we are a conference and we need to create a conducive atmosphere for everybody to be happy with the process. But at the end of the day, they think this is the best way they can do. It's an unfortunate situation that I am really ashamed as a regional organizer. This is not the best way we have ever had election. This has been the most embarrassing election or a conference that we've ever organized in Greater Accra. It's really, really an unfortunate situation.
Thank you very much. And that was the regional organizer also bemoaning the very messy manner in which the delegates have conducted themselves in this election. Just by way of updates, the election has just ended. So polls have closed, and so the electoral officials are preparing to start the sorting and then consequently the counting and declaration of results for us to know who is taking up which positions for the Greater Accra Regional Delegates Conference here. But as I said earlier, the place is indeed very messy. The place is so messy. There seems to be no law or order. Laws are being flouted blatantly. Security men are watching on. The hawks are here. The police are here. The police, I must say, are trying their best. But the so-called hawks who were brought in to support the police are doing very little to bring the situation under control. We are still here monitoring issues, and we will be updating you as and when we have any more updates. Catherine Frimpoma here from the University of Ghana, Accra.
Well, certainly is in disarray there. That's Catherine Frimpoma giving us the update there from the central cafeteria there at the University of Ghana, Legon. Over to you, Isa.
To the Western region now, and voting to elect new executives for the Western region branch of the opposition National Democratic Congress has been without any blemish since the first vote was cast. As early as 1 p.m., results for the regional youth organizer and women's organizer had been declared by the Electoral Commission.
A total of 875 delegates from 26 constituencies in the Western region voted to elect regional executives to manage the affairs of the party for the next 4 years. 45 aspirants contested for 15 positions. There was high presence of the Ghana Police Service and the military to ensure law and order. Posters belonging to both the regional and national aspirants were placed at vantage points at the St. Joseph Senior High School at the Tano, close to Sefewioso, where the Congress was held. The incumbent chairman Michael Edo locked horns with the former regional chairman Nana Toku, with immediate past regional communications officer Famous Tubi Aqua challenging immediate past secretary Joseph Nelson for the secretary position. Immediate past regional organizer Japheth Beidou is being challenged by immediate past regional youth organizer for the regional organizer positions. The Congress was witnessed by former ministers of state, including Kofi Totobi Kwaching, Professor Kwamina Ahoy, Dr. Sipayanki, among others. At the end of voting, an incumbent regional women's organizer, Anita Annan, could only manage 4 votes. New entrant Gladys Ajin defeated her with 36 votes to emerge as regional women organizer. 2016 parliamentary candidate for Umpoho Eric Chome was not successful in his attempt to become the regional youth organizer as he had 23 votes. Another new entrant, George Dadzi Jr., was elected the regional youth organizer with 28 votes.
Well, let's stay in the camp of the NDC as 54 candidates are vying for 14 positions in the Volta region NDC regional elections. The 884 delegates are expected to determine the fate of the final 14 to steer the affairs of the party in the region.
The process began well with the delegates going through election formalities peacefully and freely. The organizers described the Congress as a family reunion and hoped it would end successfully. Voting started around 2:30 p.m. and is expected to end at 6 p.m. The 884 delegates are choosing the remaining regional positions needed to steer the affairs of the party in the region. In all, 54 candidates were vying for the 14 regional positions. The regional youth organizer, deputy youth organizer, women organizer, and her 2 deputies positions were earlier decided on Friday, August 31. The incumbent regional youth organizer, Egypt Kuduto, lost to his deputy, Matthias Alagbo, 51 to 47 votes, while Suleiman Mumuni won the deputy regional youth organizer slot. Fafa Agbai was elected the regional women organizer with 39 votes. The 2 deputy women organizer positions went to Mariam Adre and Paulina Magiam with 23 votes each.
Now, the Member of Parliament for Banda constituency in the Bonaafo region, Ahmed Ibrahim, has lauded the loyalty exhibited by teaming supporters of the National Democratic Congress. He said the enthusiasm and zeal demonstrated by delegates and teaming supporters of the party attending the Bonaafo Regional Delegates Conference underway in Sunyani was highly appreciable and commendable. Here is Larry Parkwesi Moses' report.
More than 925 delegates of the National Democratic Congress, drawn from the 29 constituencies, attended the Congress to elect new regional executives to lead the party in election 2020. Former ministers of state, members of parliament, as well as former municipal and district chief executives all attended the conference. In an interview with TV3, Ahmed Ibrahim said the fortunes of the NDC is brighter in 2020 and advised the party supporters to maintain the spirit of loyalty and intensify campaign. He emphasized that more is required from the NDC if the party can regain power in 2020, and entreated the more than 46 candidates testing for the various regional executive positions to understand each other.
If you look at the enthusiasm of the delegates, the way the consensus, even from yesterday to date, you could see that everybody is poised for power. And therefore, if you look at the way the contestants are also campaigning, meeting groupings and all those kind of things, the one can just say that the NDC as a party is just poised for victory 2020.
We'll bring you more on the regional executive elections of the NDC in our subsequent bulletins. You can also get some more on it on 3news.com.
You're on News 360 and we'll return shortly with Mission. Stay with us.
Welcome back to News 360. It's now time for our mission segment this evening, which is brought to you by Star Ghana with support from UK Aid, Danida and the European Union. And our very first story in mission this evening, parents at Sikaikra, a fishing community along the Volta River in the Pandai district of the Northern region, exploits their children in fishing at the expense of their education. Stanley Niblo reports that most children are introduced to fishing by the age of 4.
Sikaikra is some 3 hours drive from the district capital, Pandai. The fishing community is not easily accessible. Sikaikra is inhabited by about 300 people and is underdeveloped. Not every child here has the benefit of education. Fishing is the only source of livelihood for the indigents. In the quest to alleviate poverty in the area, children are used in the various trades by their parents. Meet these brothers. They hail from a Kumfi in the central region, but have been living in Sikaikra for at least the last 2 decades with their children. These brothers believe using their children in various chores and trades is the best way to provide extra income for the family. Kweku Ankuma, the Gina brother, has 3 children, a boy and 2 girls. However, none of them is currently in school. Kweku Ankuma has the intention of educating the two girls, but his only son, Abu, has to sacrifice for the achievement of this cause. Abu, who is 12 years old, accompanies his father during the fishing expedition. This has been a routine practice for the past 6 years.
Oh, 8 years because
I engaged my son in the fishing expedition at age 8 because there was no one to help me fish, to cater for the family. I wish he goes to school, but I cannot afford the cost that comes with it.
Kweku Ankuma, who is a former slave master, narrates how he bought 2 children and used them during the fishing expeditions.
I discussed with one woman who promised to give her son to me to work with. She took 450 cedis from me and brought 2 children to serve me for a period of 1 year. She later told some people to come for the children.
The practice of buying and exploiting children at Sikekura is alleged to be the common practice here. Kweku's elder brother, Kwame Ibrahim, also engages in child exploitation. He has 6 children. 2 of them are fortunate enough to be enrolled in school, but they join the others daily to fish before going to school. On vacation, the children have no rest. As feeble as they are subjected to hard labor.
Drawing the fishing net is difficult. I can't pull it without eating. I and my brother have been doing this daily to help our father. If you give birth to a child without training him the hard way, he will grow up without being brave. Fishing is a generational career, so they must be involved.
His
5th child is 4 years old, but has already been introduced to an early fishing career. Kwame says fishing has elevated his status in the family, hence the need to introduce it to his children.
I first educate my children, but if their academic performance is not satisfactory, I withdraw them from school and introduce them to fishing.
The rest of the family members contribute to draw the fishing net to the shore. Kwame's wife does the drying whenever a catch is being made. District Chief Executive Fokpandai Emmanuel Atta Tatableta said the assembly is already aware about the exploitation of children in the fishing community.
These issues are very worrying and very disturbing. You cannot just go and it's like you are ambushing them. You need to let them know the essence of education, the importance of education. Sometimes you need to engage them, you need to convince them, you need to let them know that it is against the practice that you use a child 4-5 years that go and fish. It's against the practice, but we don't want to do it by using our muscles, our strength, that we are threatening them, but we want them to understand. If you teach somebody to understand something, the fellow practice it and do it better.
Sikekura and its adjoining communities would require conscious efforts and support in order to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 1, which promotes alleviation of poverty, and Goal 4, which ensures access to universal basic education for all by 2030.
rather worrying development there. But let's now turn to healthcare, as the Pandai District Assembly in the northern region has begun efforts to establish a nursing training institute in the district. The institute will ensure more personnel are groomed to assist the provision of care in unserved communities.
Most communities in the Pandai district do not have health facilities, especially those in the hinterlands. Communities which are fortunate to have CHIPS compound are understaffed and under-resourced, and this affects the delivery of care provided to inhabitants. The Nkanchina Lepers Hospital, constructed by the World Evangelical Church of Ghana, for instance, has collapsed, having served the communities for over 3 decades. It was later handed over to government after all the lepers receiving care at the facility had been treated and discharged. However, government could not manage the facility, leading to its collapse. Its infrastructure is deteriorating.
From 1947, they hand over to the government. But at the time they hand over to the government, the facility was functioning very well. It was serving the cure lepers all over West Africa. As time goes on, that we started seeing that the hospital started reducing. As of now, it has reduced to the chief compound.
Assemblyman for Nkanchina, who took the mission team round the facility, blamed stakeholders for reneging on their responsibility. This watchman has been offering voluntary service since the hospital collapsed, but the Pandai District Assembly has intervened and wants to convert the facility to a nursing training institute. Authorities have already commenced rehabilitation works on some bungalows to be occupied by the staff, but more would be required to make the place habitable. The Nursing Training Institute, when functional, would benefit the country. District Chief Executive for Pandai, Emmanuel Atablata, is confident the Assembly is making positive strides.
Everything will boil up to resources and finance to be able to package our distance very well, to be able to fix water and electricity there. When we are done, I think that we will then officially go and tell the authorities that we are finished, if they can give us the go-ahead to start the school.
He said other impediments affecting the project would be addressed. He also speaks on accreditation of the institute while promising the best future for the district.
Hopefully this year is like we have finished everything. We have moved to Accra to see the ministry and to see the appropriate people that will help us get accreditation. So far, this is where we have reached.
Efforts by the Pandai District Assembly has been lauded by many, but the projects would need adequate resources and commitment to become a reality.
That's how we wrap up our mission segment this evening. It's brought to you by Star Ghana with support from UK Aid, Danida and the European Union. You can get some more on our mission stories on our website. It's 3news.com.
Now to some other news tonight, and some residents in Wa and surrounding areas who were affected by yesterday's flood are beginning to pick up the broken pieces of their lives by cleaning their homes. Valuables, including certificates and money, were lost in the flood. Our Upper West regional correspondent, Yakubu Abdul Gafur, visited some affected areas and has come through with the following report.
Our Upper West regional correspondent, Yakubu Abdul Gafar, visited some houses at Zongo to find out the impact of the flood. The residents were still clearing their houses of the debris. Praguri was also hard hit by the flood, and most residents this morning were seen fetching sand and clearing a passage for the water. Some residents were also seen vacating their Praguri residence. Residents say this footbridge, which was constructed by an individual, is now choked with silt. They're calling on government to construct a proper drainage system to solve the perennial flooding in the area.
The cause of the flooding is just about due to the drainage. The drainage is no good.
A student of University of Cape Coast, Lee Birukia, was believed to have lost all her school documents while trying to escape from the floods Friday. her sister, Libby Mariam, said she collapsed after the incident and was resuscitated at the regional hospital to enable her write her semester exams.
She said there was an amount of money, but she can't best tell what was left.
The WA Municipal Chief Executive, Alhaji Sahaku Mumin Tahiru, together with personnel from the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, and the Assembly's building engineer, also visited some affected areas. The MCE said they will hold an emergency NADMO meeting to find a lasting solution to the flooding in the municipality.
Now, the deplorable nature of roads in cocoa-growing communities in the Bia West district of the Western region is affecting cocoa production in the area. Farmers say thousands of tons of cocoa beans are currently decaying on their farms due to their inability to cart the produce to selected marketing districts. Here's reports by Benjamin Edu.
Naturally, matured cocoa trees are able to produce about 1,000 flowers. However, about 90% of this is lost through flower dropping due to inactivity and reduction in insect pollination agents. The Ghana Cocoa Board in 2017 introduced the artificial hand pollination policy as solution to the fall in production. Cocoa Board has so far trained about 20,000 pollinators to work on selected farms. With this intervention, cocoa trees, which produced about 35 to 40 pods, can now produce about 300 pods. In most extreme cases, some farms have 879 pods produced. Some farmers are excited about the intervention.
The artificial land pollination has increased my yield. I'm hoping to produce 25 bags this year.
We are grateful to government for this artificial land pollination. I have learned it, so I no longer have to depend on others.
The Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahinedu, says the increase in cocoa production will make up for the falling cocoa prices.
The farmers' situation should not be worsened off. If anything, we will have to continue to improve upon the farmers. That's before hand pollination and all this intervention. The income of the farmer is a function of the price, the producer price, and then the yield per hectare.
The price of cocoa continues to fall, with the bag selling at 475 cedis. Mr. Edu said government would continue to support farmers to ensure that falling price of the community does not affect their income.
Now, people with hearing and speech difficulty can now access healthcare conveniently, as some health professionals have received training to effectively communicate with them. The Ghana Health Service has provided a sign language proficiency course for some health professionals in various facilities across the Greater Accra region.
Accessing healthcare remains a challenge for people with speech or hearing difficulties. Language has been a barrier to effective communication between these people and healthcare providers. Many have died due to wrong medication or procedure, sometimes because they are unable to tell what really is wrong with them. The experience is a disincentive which has discouraged many from attending the hospital. In response to these problems, the Ghana Health Service, in collaboration with the Supreme Sign Language Institute, organized a 4-week intensive sign language proficiency course for some 40 personnel in various health facilities in the Greater Accra region.
We have an introduction to the sign language and deaf culture. We also have vocabulary development for the hospital setting, and then some structure, language structure, and finally the application of or the use of the sign in the hospital setting.
Some of the participants were excited they can now communicate and understand their clients who cannot speak.
Which will help us to get the symptoms and signs directly from the patient, and by so doing, if any deaf person has any problem, he's able to inform you directly. You're able to get the symptom directly. You are able to ask for the necessary laboratories, the necessary investigations, and then give the proper treatments for the hearing impaired.
Pain is signed this way. Okay, so wherever there is a pain, the person will use the sign to that very side. If it's headache, the person will do this, and it always goes with a facial expression. So you should be able to read the facial expression. If it's severe, you see the person, maybe it comes with a squeeze or a frown of the face. Yes, it shows you how intense the pain is.
One of the trainers, who is hearing impaired, was elated he can now access health care knowing there is someone to understand his pain.
Now, I'm not afraid that if I go to the hospital, nobody is there. Now, I know that now I can see a doctor or a nurse who knows sign language that I can communicate with so that he can help me to solve my problem. So I'm really happy for this program.
Metro Director of Health Services, Dr. Esi Thurston Kofi, encouraged other health facilities to train as many staff as possible to make communication effective.
We are going to sponsor more of our health personnel to go through this sign language proficiency training to make them able and capable of interacting with them when they come to the health facilities to receive health care.
40 health personnel learning to sign with the deaf is a good start, but only a drop in the ocean considering the thousands of health facilities across the country and the numerous deaf people. It is therefore imperative that sign language becomes compulsory for all health care providers if we are to achieve an equitable health care delivery.
You're watching News 360. We've got some sports news coming up for you shortly. Stay with us. Thanks, Yao, for the sports news there. On the international front this evening, the United States, the United Kingdom, France and Italy have called for an immediate end to deadly violence in the Libyan capital, Tripoli. A joint statement said attempts to weaken the legitimate Libyan authorities and hinder the ongoing political process are not acceptable. At least 39 people, including civilians, have died in rival military clashes in Tripoli in recent days. A UN-backed government is nominally in power in the capital, but militias occupy much of the rest of the country. The violence broke out on Monday when militias from a city to the south of Tripoli attacked the city's southern areas, leading to fighting with local militias that supports the internationally recognized government, the Government of National Accord. That's the GNA. The GNA's health ministry said on Friday that at least 39 people had been killed, including a Malian national who was killed by shelling in his home. Dozens of other people have been reported to have been wounded. Human Rights Watch condemned the violence and said that at least 18 of the dead were civilians, among them 4 children.
In other international news, Ugandan pop star and Member of Parliament Bobi Wine has been released from hospital and is flying out of the country for medical treatment in the United States, according to Ugandan police. It follows claims the MP was severely beaten while in military custody, allegations denied by the army. He and 32 opposition politicians were charged with treason last week over the alleged stoning of President Yoweri Museveni's convoy. Bobi Wine was earlier granted bail, but was told he could not leave the country, Uganda. On Friday, police confirmed that he had been cleared to fly out of the country for specialized treatment after the government sent a team of 9 doctors to examine him. Up next is some entertainment news.
And in entertainment news this evening, let's take a look at how our cartoonist Tilapia captured the news of the week.
Now, the second edition of the Liran Collection Student Fashion Show has been successfully staged at Kwashimai. The beautiful show witnessed budding student designers and models showcase their clothesline and modeling skills on the runway. The student designers looked prepared and ready to bless the fashion world with amazing creativity. Some of the looks displayed included casual look, formal look, bridal gowns, among others. The annual event is staged to enable students put up their creativity, after which they can have the liberty to sell the designs.
We wish them the best in their future talents.
So. Yeah, I wish I could design something for myself too.
Well, yes. Before we round up News 360, let's take a recap of the top stories. Misunderstanding between aspirants and election planning committee delays election of new regional executives for the NDC in the Ashanti region. And also, Confanachi Hospital needs 25 million euros to replace obsolete machinery. In Mission, children of Sika Ekra fishing community along the Volta River in Kandai district of the northern region face exploitation. And also 39 people have been killed in militia clashes in Libya. And those were the stories we brought you tonight on NEWS360. There will be updates on our website, 3news.com. My name is Isa Moni. And I'm Natalie Ford. Thanks so much for watching. Have a lovely evening.